All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome. Let me write in the chat. Hey. Yeah, it's Wednesday, so we are gonna do some domain-driven design in Python. Let's do a quick recap. So in the last episode, which was back on Monday, we started doing this interesting exercise called process modeling, and I think it was called event storming, and process modeling is like part of the event storming. So the idea is to uh, figure out all of the processes and models that are like part of your application before you actually start writing any code, just so you know what you're up against, right? And once you do that, once you define all of the processes and events and actors and systems and stuff like that, you then go ahead and start pulling aggregates out of them. And we're gonna do that today. So we are gonna get in. We're going to look at what we've done last stream, and we're just gonna continue, yeah, with the domain modeling, defining all of the aggregates, and we'll see where that takes us. Maybe we'll get to, write some code today. Who knows? Let's see. All right, so this is what we did yesterday. All right, here is the process modeling. Let me actually put this in the chat so you folks can see. There we go. Should be up now. All right, so yeah, this is the process modeling flow that we did last stream, and what we're doing here, here's the legend at the top. We have hotspots, events, commands, actors, policies, systems, and read models. And read models is basically what the output is. So let's do a quick, let's revisit what we've done, and we'll just continue. So the first thing we did is we defined a timeline. So this is in the past, and it goes all the way to the future, right? Hold on. My cat is making some stuff. Distracting me. All right, so here's the past, and this is basically what the users will do when they start, using the application. All the way until the very end is what the users will, when the users will be happy, right? When they do all of these things, upload a CV, generate a PDF, etc., etc. So at the very start, we have the user, right, as the actor. They submit the sign up form, and this is a command, right? The blue box is a command. The yellow one is an actor. I'm keeping this dark mode, by the way. In the last stream we did it light mode, but yeah, dark mode is just more eye friendly. So yeah, submits the sign up form and to the authentication system, and then the event happens. User signed up, right? This is important. We need to keep track of the events as they happen, because that's going to be, it's going to be crucial later. And the output, of course, is the user itself. So the output might be like, what if this is an API endpoint, then the user will be returned, right? If this is if we're defining a UI part, this is going to be shown to the UI. Or if it's an email, this is going to be the content of the email. We're not specifying any technologies in this process, but yeah, sequence and collaborative diagrams again. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, this is, the output of this is going to be the user. We actually didn't start off like this. We rounded up all of the events. We had the user signed up, we had the profile completed, right? All of the events. And then we started putting together these. Just get some water. Okay. Yeah, this is where we are. we have the user, and then after registration, the user enters the past and current professional experiences. Doesn't matter how, they just enter them into the profile system. And I'm thinking we should merge these two. Isn't it similar to those diagrams? Sequence diagram, it was like this, right? It started off with like a start, and then it had it had something like this, if I remember correctly. Action. And then another one, and this could be like can be a diamond for a condition, which had like, if it's true or if it's false, right? This was sequence. I'm not sure about the collaborative diagram. Should check that out. But yeah, maybe. The idea is that object class, ULM collaboration diagram. Yeah. Oh, that's flowchart actually. Yeah. Sequence was with the swim lanes, with the actors and the swim lanes, right? Yeah. All right. So yeah, this is not supposed to, like for example, the formatting is not specified. I just happen to like put them like this. But yeah, I'm thinking about merging these two. My cat is going crazy. I don't know what's up with him. These two, the profile system and the authentication system, because both of them are actually, what is going on? Both of them are actually about the users, right? Signing up users, logging in users, updating the user profiles. These are not supposed to be like, different systems. Let's just say users, or just user system. So we're going to merge these two. So, so that we can define the aggregate of the user here. And all of these commands will fall, and also like the entities will fall under the user aggregate. We'll have a profile, we have a user, etc. Harsh, how's it going? All right, moving on. Once the user has completed their profile, we have their profile, and this is basically give me all of your past work experience, so I can build build the profile for you, just put it in the database. Yeah. Then once that is done, the user submits a job listing to the job system, right? The job listing event gets fired up, and then there's a policy in place, and policy is basically what happens after a specific event gets fired up, right? So once this event gets fired up, the policy will trigger the parse job listing command, right? This is a command. Maybe I should have put it like this, so it's like in the same level of this command. So yeah, the policy triggers the parse job listing command, which will just visit the URL, scrape the HTML, try to figure out the requirements of that job listing first, if it's a job listing at all, right? Try to scrape the requirements, try to understand what the job listing is, and just get that and put it in a database. Basically, that's what this part means, and it's under the job system. So this whole block right here is the job system, aka the job aggregate, right? And then there's gonna be like two outcomes. It's either gonna fail to parse, or it's either going to succeed in parsing the job listing. In any case, the job listing parse policy will trigger the notify user command, which is in the email service. It sits in the email service, and the user notified event will be triggered. Then the output, of course, is the email with the outcome of the job, right? Cool. So far so good. Then after the user get their email, and let's just say that the parsing has been completed, the user can go and require or request to generate a resume for that specific listing, right? This part can be skipped altogether if the job listing has been previously parsed by either by the user or by someone else, right? But yeah, then the user can request to generate a resume for that listing that goes onto the resume system, right? Because this is not going to be the job system, it's going to be the resume system, because we are going to be working with like PDFs and stuff. So yeah, resume system here, that's our next aggregate. I feel like the systems are what we should look into for, you know, defining these aggregates. It just feels natural to me, but maybe I'm making a mistake. We'll see. In both cases, right? In both cases, we are... Did I drop? No, it doesn't seem like that. All right. In both cases, we are going to trigger the notify user through the resume generation policy. That's, of course, on the email service. User notified, there's the email. But in case the resume was generated successfully, we get the resume, right? That is the PDF. And what will happen is we'll just put the link into the database. It's gonna be like there's gonna be a time limit on that, because we want to remove the PDF, you know, after a day or 3 days or 5 days. I don't know. We'll define that, right? But we're basically removing these PDFs. We're not keeping them, right? The resume is here, download it, and that's it. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And the email will contain the link if it's generated successfully. Now, once the generation is completed, right? Actually, we're not talking about the PDFs here. We just put the resume details into the database, and now we can convert it into a PDF. Yeah. We need the resume details in the database first, right? So that then we can use them later to generate that PDF. Again, on the resume system, 2 outcomes. In both cases, we notify the user with the download link if it was successful. And once the user downloads the PDF, either through, I don't know, the website or through the link in the email, that happens in the resume system. The PDF downloaded event gets triggered, and then the policy, download policy, will trigger a schedule follow-up email after 1 month, because we want to ask the user, did you end up getting the job with this resume? In case they did, we want to mark that and basically retrain our model that this is a winning resume, right? We're gonna need that later. But yeah, once that's done, they can mark the resume as hired, either like immediately, they don't have to wait a month, or like after a month when they click in the link. Again, that happens in the resume system. And then once this is done, we will basically retrain the ML model with this resume included and marked as a successful resume or winning. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But yeah, that happens on the ML system, which we'll start building after we get all of this done. Basically, the infrastructure. We need the UI. We need the API to support this, and then we'll start working on the machine learning stuff. And yeah, at the end, the ML model is optimized, and that's it, right? Basically, there's no, I don't know, there's no outputs here. Like, there's no read model. It's just optimized, you know. New ML model, but we're not sending that to the user, or we're not displaying that anywhere. The output is the new machine learning model, but that's it. We'll just redeploy the machine learning model once we retrain it. Okay, so that's like the happy path. That's the core value of the application that we're trying to build, from when the user signs up until the very end, when the user generates a resume, generates a PDF out of that resume, gets hired, marks the resume as hired, and we retrain that new model. That's basically the whole, you know, spectrum of the features. So out of this, we did have some, we did try to do some of the aggregates here, and you see that we went the wrong way. Honestly, I don't think we should be going this way, but we'll see. Skill is definitely not, or maybe we should go this way. We'll see. But basically, skill falls under resume, right? The job listing also requires these skills, and the resume also contains skills. It should contain, or the user. Oh yeah, actually, the user contains the skills. And we went that way first. Like, let's think about all of the entities that can be found in our application. So we said, okay, first we have users, then we have resumes, right? And then we have job listings, right? And basically the resume sits in the middle, right, between them. But the users, when they're creating their profile, they're basically adding skills and companies and, you know, stuff like that, and positions. So we noticed that we need to treat the skill as like a separate aggregate. The red boxes are aggregates. There we go. We basically need to copy. This is the legend. This is the legend, and just make this bigger. There we go. Yeah, so aggregates. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this. The idea is that we do this first, and then we pull aggregates out of it. But maybe this is not enough. Maybe we should be, you know, we should dig into it. Maybe like the profile, like what entities are here. Yeah, let's figure that out. Let's figure out the entities. Maybe we can like do something like this, for example, but we're gonna change it this way. These can be entities, right? So we'll have a user entity. Here, right? That's basically output. We're gonna have the profile. It, you know, it does include the user, but it also includes the the company entity. It also includes a skill entity, if these are entities. And we talked about should we make these entities or not. We decided to make these entities because we want to reference them later, right? React should be React, and it should not be different than React.js or React space JS. It should just be React, right? So that's why we decided to keep the skills as entities, and they're gonna have like IDs, so that we can later say, we can just later say when the users are creating the profiles, we can like have autocomplete and stuff like that. That's why we need these skills basically. But yeah, company and skill. I don't think we have anything else. We did try to come up with a list. Company name, start and date, position. Oh yeah, position as well. And the position held this. Company title, start date, end date, location type, employment type, description, and resources. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm thinking about this. Oh yeah, the user also has resumes, but they're not gonna be part of this one. Yeah, let's do this then. I'm gonna go back here. Instead of company, do position instead of a company as an entity, because I don't think we need to reference companies later on. Hey Red, welcome. Right, so we have positions, and those positions have, you know, the companies, the dates, etc., 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 and we also have skills under the profile completed, like in this step right here. And then we have the job listing, submit job listing, right? So immediately that tells us there is a job listing thing, which will treat it as an entity because it should be unique. Yeah, it should be identifiable. Okay, that happens to the job system. It gets parsed, and out of that, we need to have. Let's think about this. We need to have like two things, maybe, like the submission itself, and also the data that's going to be parsed. You know, there's going to be like requirements, etc. Should they be entities? Definitely not. But once we parse that, we're gonna need to put them in a database, right? So that's going to be a green box. I'm gonna make this white text as well, and this is going to be a requirement. Okay, the requirements, like after parsing the job listing, the requirement is going to be, it's just gonna hold one job listing will have multiple requirements, and the requirements will be like a technology or +1, -1, we'll see. But basically, if we go to Sentry Careers, and there we go, Senior Machine Learning Engineer, it says about the role. In this role, you will do this, like expectations. You'll love this job if you enjoy building things, thrive in cross-functional teams, appreciate the challenges, qualifications. There we go. Or maybe we should call it qualifications or requirements. I don't know. We'll figure out. Qualification seems better, right? It's a job listing with qualification, not like requirements. But yeah, 7+ years, bachelor degree in computer science. We use Python, Azure, GCP, AWS. See, these are like these are specific technologies. Databases, PyTorch, TensorFlow. There's the type of employment, like hybrid work schedule, in person, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, blah blah, right? Yeah. So qualifications, and I'm not sure how we can treat these. Should we treat these as like strings, or should we somehow try to classify them? I think we should classify them. Like, for example, this is one piece of information, 7+ years. Bachelor is one piece of information, like a distinct piece of information, right? Some positions may not require a bachelor's degree, some may require a master's degree, right? Then we have languages. And then we have like technologies. And I believe we can just merge languages and technologies together. Right, there's Apache Spark, PyTorch, TensorFlow. Yeah, we have Terraform. In this case, Terraform comes with its own language, right? So we're just gonna mush everything together. Looking at this, for example, the qualifications, we're gonna have years of experience, right? Any degree requirements, and like a string of technologies as well. Let me actually write these down. The requirement, I'm just gonna like put a text here. Years of experience. Then we have the degree requirements, and I'm going to say qualifications, years of experience. This is like too large. I'm just gonna make this a medium. Degree requirements. We had an array. Technologies, whatever, you know. We're doing this only for tech jobs, and we'll see if we can expand that later for like non-tech positions as well. But yeah, technologies. And then we also had the employment type, right? Like if it's a hybrid, remote, on-site. That's what we're talking about here. So these are going to be the qualifications. We're just going to try to build out, for example, like this shape and like these 4 points, and we'll just try to extract these 4 points from the job listings. I don't think there's like anything else. Of course, the salary range, that's not going to be in qualifications. Yeah, let's just put it as, just put it like that. And that's like, that can be optional as well. We have a salary range. Let me know if you're, of course, the title, right? Title and location. I'm gonna remove this. We know what that is. All right, salary range, qualifications, title, location. I know that we didn't write value objects in, you know, in this case. Let's do that real quick. So we have the position, and the position, oh, it's gonna have a company. I mean, we've already, damn it, I'm like overcomplicating things. We've already written these down, to be honest. They're here. There's the roles. We didn't for the job listing, but you know, good thing we just did that now. Salary range, qualifications, title, and location. Okay, that's about it, I think. Now in this case, we generate a resume for the listing, so we're gonna have a resume as like an entity. And the resume is going to have parts of the user profile. And let's try to explain those. The resume is going to have parts of the user profile, but we're gonna use some LLMs to basically like explain stuff, to generate some code, you know. Positions and skills, yeah, like a mixture of positions and skills and some, you know, other user information. But yeah, let's not get held up with that. I think it's perfectly fine. We'll just have this as a resume here. We'll figure it out later. But once we do that, we save that to the database. Then we go here and do we have any entities here? I don't think we do. The resume is going to be tied with a user and a job listing, right? So if the PDF is generated, it's going to be part of the resume. We don't need a specific entity for that. That can be like a value object under the resume entity, right? We'll just put the PDF link to the resume and that's it. Okay. Then we download the PDF. Then there's a follow-up email. That's gonna be like a cron job. Then we mark the resume as hired. That means there's another value object in there for the hired. It's just a thingy. And then we have the ML models. So we'll see about those. I think we're gonna go back and supplement like this diagram here once we have much better understanding of how machine learning models work, how they get persisted in a database, training and stuff like that. So we'll just circle back. So far so good. We have these entities. I'm just gonna grab them, and this is a duplicate, and I'm gonna zoom in. These entities, and the job listing has these value objects that we tried to add, but we didn't really have to. Okay, this is what we have so far. This is what we have so far. Hey Indica, welcome. All right, so let's figure out now. Let's figure out how we can take these and actually turn them into code. Or maybe we should see the correlation between them, right? So that we can create more value objects like these. I'm just gonna make these a bit tighter, something like this. Get these here. Cool. All right, so we have the user, right? The user, along with its profile, we'll just keep this as like one single thing. There's the user will have the profile. There's not going to be like two tables. It's just going to be one table. We are going to create that abstract user, extend the default user in Django with the stuff that it needs, but it basically have position, a bunch of positions, right? And we'll see if position should be an aggregate or not. But yeah, actually no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm actually gonna do this thing. The user has a position, right? I'm gonna bring this lower. The user has a position. The skill, the user has a skill as well. All right, so we'll just set it here. The user has a bunch of resumes. Again, I'm gonna put that here. The position is part of the profile. The skill is also part of the profile, but the resume, we need to keep track of all of the resumes that the user profile, one to many relationship. Now it's just gonna have one user is just gonna have one profile. We'll just keep everything for the user. There's not gonna be like multiple profiles. Okay, but yeah, the user will have multiple resumes, right? And multiple skills, and multiple positions. There's going to be a job listing. The job listing, as we mentioned, is going to have qualifications. And you'll see that these will turn green after a while, so we'll have everything, unified. The position doesn't have like anything specific to it. Of course, it has like a title. It has a company. It has a description. It has, what else? Dates, and I'm just gonna put dates here, so we don't, you know, spend time. We know what we're thinking here, like start and end date, description, company, title. Yeah, that's what we have in the position. The skill is just a label, I'll say, right? That's gonna be the skill. We're not gonna keep track of like years of experience for the skill, because it's even not even easy to, you know, figure out. I don't know how many years, hired or not hired, for the position. No, that's gonna be for at the resume. But yeah, it's gonna be for the resume. Wait, I didn't. Oh, actually, I did copy these. Yeah, I'm gonna put these here for the job listing. For the resume, we're going to have job listing. We're going to have hired or not. It's gonna be a value object. Hired or not. It's gonna have a PDF link as well, right? And it's going to be optional, because first we generate the resume, but then we actually provide the PDF. Then what are we going to have? We might marry these two after some time. The job listing is going to have skills as well, right? I mean, actually, no, those were qualifications, and we defined those qualifications. Although we need to... Oh yeah, there we go. Evie, welcome. We have the we have the qualifications, but the qualifications, especially in like the technologies, they need to match the skills, because that's how we are going to, you know, find the intersection between the user's profile and the skills or the job listing, basically. Yeah, so that's what we need to figure out, how we can do that. How can we match the qualifications, which we defined as years of experience, degree, technologies, and employment type. We need that here in the qualifications. Might as well, you know, flatten them out. I'm not going to have a qualifications here. I'm going to have a bunch of skills, right? I'm going to have just still this here so I don't go back and forth. Yeah. Years of experience. Degree requirements. Employment type. I'm gonna have the... What else was there? Oh, we have the salary range already. Now we have the location, title of the position, years of experience, degree requirements, employment type, all these things, right? And also a bunch of skills that are required, which is basically going to be that technologies piece right here. So when the user creates their profile, they're adding the skills here. They're adding the they're going to add, yes, technologies will equal skills, because like that's the criteria, right? That describes you as like a employee profile, right? Your profile is React developer, or you know, that also knows Terraform, that also has experience with AWS. AWS, what is that? It's not a framework, it's not a language, but it's something that, you know, companies need. So that's why I think it's fair to just put everything under a skill, treat everything as a skill, and that's it. Okay. Yeah, we're designing the aggregates here. So what we did so far is we went through the whole timeline and we tried to extract, entities and value objects here. So for example, in this step, when the user is signing up, we have a user. When the user is finishing their profile, we have a position and skill. We treat these as entities, but maybe they won't be, we'll see. We have a job listing here when they submit a job listing with the URL. And after parsing it, we're gonna have a salary range, qualification, title, location, like a description as well. Yeah, doesn't matter. These are not relevant for now. We just put them there. We have the resume here. When they click generate resume, we create a new resume in the system. And then the PDF is just going to be a value object that belongs to the resume. And yeah, that's about it. Nothing is there. So we moved all of these here. We put them in this type of order. And now we're trying to see who's gonna be who of these is gonna be an aggregate and who of these is going to be like a nested entity. And as we can see, we have right, positions, as you can see, are only under the user. There's no position here, so this will be a nested entity inside of the user, right? It's not gonna be, there's not gonna be a position domain like that. It's just gonna be under the user, basically. Skill is being used here. The resume is not done yet, right? The resume is tied to a job listing and also a user, because multiple users, have the right to apply at the same job. So we have a job listing, we have a user here. Can anyone here guide me to make editor like of the Medium, like Medium, the blogging site? That'll be fun, like a fun project. And I bet there's like a ton of open source projects as well. All right, so resume. It has a job listing. It has a user attached to it, whether the user got hired or not. With this resume, and it is gonna have like a PDF link and all the, all of the information under that resume. So let's see what those are going to be. I believe they're gonna be like positions, right? You wanna show where you worked, a number of positions on the resume, those positions, and also a number of skills as well. Let me go to LinkedIn, go to my LinkedIn, and just try to get the, I'm just gonna get the resume and just gonna open it, get the profile. Right, so we have skills, languages. All right, it's gonna be like a simple value object. We can add it later on. Certifications, interesting. This might be of use as well. We should have done this. Links as well, the contact. Damn it. Okay, we should have done this. But yeah, here's a position, right? Here's my position at Sentry. Here. It explains the company, the title, the dates, the location, the description, and that's it. Then we have another position, positions all the way to the bottom, and then we also have an education as well. Yeah, this is definitely important to have, because if we keep track of the degree requirements, we do need that, education info as part of the user profile. Certifications, yeah. And we'll just add them here, basically. Damn it. This is going to be a value object. No need to, no need to like treat this as an entity, because it's super unique to this user, so it can actually be embedded. No other user is going to have like the very same certification, because there's also a date, right? We can just assume that, yeah. Certifications and also education. I'm just gonna say education activity, which means the type of the education. Is it like I don't know, you're adding high school, or you're adding this looks better. High school, bachelor, or boot camps, stuff like that. So yeah, multiple educational activities, multiple certifications, multiple resumes attached to the user profile here, multiple skills, multiple positions. What else is here? We had like the languages. We already have the skills, and we're gonna cherry pick those for that specific resume. So for example, if we are applying for a front end, there's not gonna be iOS and Android or tvOS. I don't even know why these are top skills. I literally just worked 1 year with these technologies, but let's just say that these are my top skills, so yeah, this is based on endorsements, I believe, because this is LinkedIn. Top skills would be endorsements. In our case, top skills will be custom tailored to the position, right? So if the job listing, for the job listing, if it requires Terraform and I have Terraform in my skills, Terraform is going to be there. Then we have a bunch of links. We can just, of course, copy this and treat them as like social media. If he says, I would also separate the user from the profile, as you will have all the data to create a user that can depend on the provider you use to, so it can become really big over time. Well, my idea was to like merge everything. Like if you log in with just email and password. Morning, Edward. If you log in with just email and password, then empty. You'll just add these by hand. If you log in with LinkedIn, we're gonna try to parse these, parse whatever we can, and we'll just parse whatever we can. The rest the user can manually input them. But I guess that this is basically what we're gonna have. These are the links, social links. And I guess, yeah, can become really big over time. How do you think it's gonna be like? How do you think it's gonna grow? Like, what other type of data do we anticipate getting into the user model right here? I guess we can like treat it as a nested entity, the profile itself. It's just that, for example, when we want to generate a resume, we'll fetch the user. Once we fetch the user, it's gonna be like a profile ID, and then we need to do another fetch for the profile. Messing with the direct user model is a pain. Good point. I didn't take into that account because I have no experience with Django. So, yeah. You're not designing a database table, it's an aggregate, yeah. So it's used to save the data. Yeah, true. Okay, yeah, let's do that. In that case, we are going to create an entity here that's going to be a user profile. We have the position, we have the skill. This is all under the profile, basically. Like this. And maybe the resumes are under the user and not the profile. The resumes use the profile. You know, we use the profiles to generate the resumes. But then these, let's see. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be like a nested entity inside of the user aggregate. We are treating this as an aggregate, but I still haven't like painted it reds. It's just like a, yeah, we're working towards that. So the user has resumes, a list of resumes. These are going to be IDs. We'll change them later. It's going to have a profile. Of course, that profile is going to have all of these things. And I'm not sure how to show that. Maybe like this, I don't know. That looks crazy. But yeah, the profiles have position, skill, certification, educational activity, and social links. Actually, not like this. Let's just do this then. Like this, user is definitely going to be an aggregate, and let's like make it extra large. So here's our user aggregate. The user aggregates have, you know, has resumes, user profiles, and the user profiles have these things. Yeah, so we'll point downwards when we're drawing these things. Most of the time, you will have something like 3 lines of code in your command handlers. Fetch aggregate by ID. Yeah, that's going to be the user. Work with it, profile, remove skill, etc., etc. Save and trigger event. Yeah. Oh, you mean like when we're going to fetch the user, we're just going to tell it to like populate, right? Because these are going to be resume IDs. This is going to be like a user profile ID, right? So if you fetch something too big, you're in a transaction with an aggregate. Yeah, it can take time. You want to have small aggregates. True. Yeah, so aside from the standard data under the user, we also have like profile. And would that be embedded or would that be like a profile ID? We'll think about that. But yeah, basically profiles makes this something like this then. Profiles are going to, they're going to be profiles. It's easier to, yeah, I agree. It's easier to just like separate, you know, separate the data. It's easier to work with. We have the user, we have the resumes. Do you need the user when adding a skill? Yeah, just need the user ID. I don't need the whole user. Okay. Just clean this up. And we'll continue. All right, but yeah, so far I think the profile is complete. It's based on, I don't know, it's based on LinkedIn. We'll just, you know, use LinkedIn as a basis, you know, basically what should be present on one resume. They've done the research. So yeah, this is it. Number of positions and number of skills, certifications, educational activity, and social links. Now we have the position as next, right? The position is present in the user profile and it's also present in the resume. So that makes it I'm a bit confused on why we need the user profile. It's just to like keep things tidy. That's it. Yeah. We're not gonna have multiple profiles. We're still gonna have like one single profile. But yeah. All right, so positions are in the user profile. There's multiple positions and also multiple positions under the resume. So the resume, the position, this tells me that the position should be an aggregate root. But does it make sense? Maybe it doesn't. It doesn't. Check this out. Hold on, actually. I was gonna say, we have the user. The user has the profile, which has the positions. So through the user, we can get the positions, but we're not talking about all of the positions. We're talking about like a subset of those positions, right? So at least, yeah, these positions and these positions aren't really the same. They are, but it's not the whole profile. It's like part of a subset of them. How do we treat this? We can't just say user. If we just point to the user, there is no way to pick those positions, right? So that's why we need to treat positions separately. That's why we need to treat positions individually aside from the user. We are gonna have the user profile, but yeah. Yeah, we need to filter them, and in order to filter them, we need a specific, you know, we need to handle them explicitly, not through the user. So these need to sit here. And when we watch the Amihai tutorial, what Amihai did was, you can see the position is here, you can see the position is here, these are going to be IDs, this is going to be an entity root. And we're just going to have an entity root, an entity of positions, and that's it. When creating an aggregate is, do I have rules to enforce? For example, when creating a position, is there something to respect, like 5 positions max? No, in this case, there are not any rules. Like it has to be, maybe there are like some inner rules, but that's just like validation inside, you know, like the dates. Or maybe not even for the dates, I don't know, it's all freehand, I guess. No limitations at all. Like a position, a user can have 0 or more positions. There's no upper limit on the positions that, you know, you create. But yeah, those were the questions. I actually got them. The robot told me, mentioned those as well. Let me just try to find where that discussion was. I think it's this one. But yeah, for the positions, definitely not. There's like no limitations, right? You create your profile, You might have been to 100 companies. I don't know, contracting part-time, 2 hours a week. I don't know. You can achieve that, I guess. So we should not be limiting the positions. We could limit like the resumes. The resume creation is like part of the monetization plan. So there are going to be like any rules. Like for example, the user that is requesting the resume must have like credits for generation and stuff like that. How do we handle this? It's weird having position as like an aggregate root, to be honest. It doesn't have, you know, any rules, but if we nest it here, then we need to somehow, you know, we're gonna need to can we do that? Treat this as a nested actually, I guess we can. We can treat position as a nested entity here. It's still gonna be entity, it's still gonna have an ID. But like when we want to create the resume, we'll have the user, and the position is again is gonna have like a bunch of IDs, an array of IDs for specific positions for that user. I guess that will make sense. You know, it's not an aggregate root. We'll just say user dot get position, right? They are the user's thing. We're talking about positions, right? The work positions. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We're not gonna have a lot of aggregates here. Okay, let's do that then. Position is going to be a nested entity. It's not going to be, yeah, it's going to be an nested entity. Still an entity, but yeah. So this is the profile. We need to move these. These are not part of the skills. It's going to be here. And we're also going to have a resume. So this is the profile. And a bunch of resumes here. We have a skill and we're treating this. We are treating this as an aggregate. Let's see. Are there any rules in creating skills? No, these are basically system-wide information. They don't belong to a user. They don't belong to a job listing. They don't belong to a resume. They just exist, right? It's gonna be like static data. And we need to have the ability to create those. As we, for example, take user input, the user says, I have this skill and it's not in your system, so create this, right? And then also might be coming from the job listing. Like when the user pastes a job listing, the job listing will just mention a technology, right? We need to create a skill for that. So these are going to be coming from job listings and user profiles, the skills themselves. But we want to reference them. We want to reference them somehow. If they're aggregates, there's no limitations on them. As I mentioned, it's nobody owns a skill. It just exists as data in the system. Yeah. Let me circle back. Let's see. Let's continue with these because I think might change. Job listing. Job listing is definitely Let's see. Evie says, "Yep, but for the skill, you will accept anything like blah 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 as a new potential skill. If no, there will be a validation of a rule somewhere." Yeah, there's definitely gonna be like a validation to the skill. You can't just create a skill, right? How do we treat this? Does LinkedIn have any? Let's see. Let me update this one. There are skills here. Add skill. Yeah, it's a skill. And it can mean something in a different language, on a different planet, right? If I just save this, right? If I just save it, reload it, and there we go. There it is. So yeah, these folks, they don't. LinkedIn, they don't really keep track or validate, skills. So I guess no validation, right? The idea is to have them uh, like known in the system, so when the user starts to type in React, we actually know that it's React, and when they do React.js, we still treat it as React. And when a job listing appears, we want to point to that. So there are no rules, but they need to exist in the database. They need to have, they need to be unique with their own ID. Maybe instead of just a label, they're gonna have like an alias as well. Maybe we should keep track of those things as well, and like an array of aliases, like React.js, React space JS, right? I keep using that example, but yeah, maybe that can also help us, where find the skill by the official label, or in case there's like an alias for that skill. If you type in an alias, you have a list of predefined skills to propose as suggestions, and then people can add anything, pretty much. Yeah, so, but that list can also grow. Like we should be able to, create more skills and suggest them. Or should we just like yeah. But even if it's so, right? We still need to we should suggest. I think we need to marry them. They have to be like the same. If I can just punch in anything in here in my user profile, that doesn't make sense. I can type in React in Cyrillic, right? I need to know that is React. So when a job listing lists React in its skills, I should, the backend should pick that up. Even though it's like written in Cyrillic alphabet and it's not in English, I should still have that. That's why I think we need the skills to exist. They need to have IDs, etc. So when we're adding them as such. And when we are creating new skills, yeah, like when we create new skills, there's gonna be validation. Like if you mark React.js as like create a new skill, and you didn't click on the React one, because people are not gonna click, and you mark it as like a create for creation, we should not create it, but like replace that react.js in the user's profile with the existing React skill. We should, we should handle that in a smart way, and we should just not even let the user know that we switched it up. So maybe they need to be an aggregate. There is gonna be validation when we say create the skill. Yeah, it can throw an error. For example, like I can't create this skill because it's already, it already exists. Or no, we'll just return that ID. It's like for addresses, you call a service to know if your address exists. Pretty much, yeah. Okay, let's then make it an aggregate. Let's make it an aggregate actually. Because when we create it, when we treat it as, when we want to create skills, there's gonna be some validation, right? We're basically going to invoke the creation command, and we're gonna expect an ID, whether that's in the user profile or in the job listing, right? Yeah, it's gonna be an aggregate. There's just skill. The text was like extra large. Font was, we'll keep it as black. There we go. So skill is now an aggregate, and we have skill here. So we're just gonna say this is going to be a skill ID. There we go. And we're gonna paint these green because these are not entities anymore. With white text. Same goes here. All right, we are done with the skill. There we go. We're gonna have a label, maybe some aliases as well, just so we don't, invoke the machine learning beasts every time we want to create a skill. We can like keep a list of aggregates, and then that's it. Okay, job listings, definitely an aggregate. They only appear here in the resume, but maybe they can be, they can have some validation rules or some limitations, right? Because this is going to be, how do we do this now? Let's think about this. This will involve AI, right? This will involve machine learning. Will you save the job listing? Yeah. The job listing gets created when the user pastes a link to a job listing. And then our system will try to parse it, scrape the HTML, try to understand it, requirements, etc., etc. We will save this. So for the next time, if the job listing has previously been parsed, there's not going to be any, it's going to be faster. We'll just skip the whole parsing process. That's going to be the job listing. So we are going to have them, but check this out now. If I wanted to bankrupt my own self, I can create like a profile without LinkedIn, etc. Just with an email, 0 positions, 0 anything, no profile at all, just a user. And I'm just gonna like start spanning, maybe even I'll have a profile with fake data, and I'll start spamming job listings. Just gonna like bam, 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 put all of them in, and not generate any, resumes. I guess it's fine. Yeah, definitely one rule to enforce. First, we need to figure out if this is a job listing or if this is a, I don't know, a pancake recipe. right? We need to figure that out. If it's a job listing or not. So we might just say, nope, we're not doing this. Of course, save URLs to verify the people cannot use it on like weird websites. I can spin up an HTML that describes a job listing, but below the job listing, I can have any type of content I want, right? So I can fool my system just by putting the minimum, amount of information to make the page, or to just fool the AI that this is a job listing because it has a salary range, it has requirements or qualifications, it has yada 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 stuff. I'm gonna fool the AI with that, but then I'll just gonna do a horizontal line and then have any type of content below that might not even have to do with jobs. It can be it can be anything, and I'll have that my platform will have a link to that, so when the users click there, they're just gonna go there. Job listings are not visible to all of the users. Only the job listings that they submitted are there, but they might, we might get them out. We might have like a one page where we have all of the job listings that have been parsed, and these are the requirements, right? So we might have like a page where we have here's what's on the market right now, and since we have the job listings parsed, it's going to be free, right? They already are going to be in the database, so they will be public. Let's just treat them as public. So that means we should whitelist URLs, or I don't know, or use AI to make sure that this is a valid job listing and not like a custom HTML page that contains a job listing, but then it has like, I don't know, bad stuff below the job listing, because we don't want to promote that and put that on the website. That's one thing, Okay, maybe they're gonna have like 2-tier. Like if you just want a resume for this job listing, even though it's a weird, whitelist, easier and safer. But we're gonna have like, we need to tap into like a because LinkedIn is one thing, right? But if I'm pasting a URL, I'm gonna paste this one, and this is the company URL. It's not really a job listing site, right? This is like straight from the company. So if the company is the if the URL comes from the company website, that means we're gonna have to figure out if this is a company URL or not, because I'm gonna see this. Maybe I'll find this on a different job listing site, right? Or someone slacks it to me, or I find a Discord server, where they post jobs and stuff. So I'm going to copy this link and I'm gonna paste that link into the website, and this link is going to be scraped. This one. So if I need to, if we want to whitelist stuff, we need to whitelist Sentry and thousands of other companies. So I guess we can use AI for that. I guess we can, like, I don't know if the AI knows about that, right? That's what I'm saying. There can be 2 phases of these job listings. 2 phases. One is the user just submits a URL. We create the job listing, but we don't mark it as public, right? We create the job listing, we don't mark it as public, and we just have that user access to it. But then I don't know, a bit later, or because we don't want to hold the process, right? We don't want to say, okay, we got your job listing, but hold on, let me ask the AI if this is legit or not. I don't care. If you want a resume for this, buy credits, here's your PDF, go send it, right? It's not our job to validate the validity of the company for the job listing. If the user wants a PDF, if the user wants a PDF, here's your PDF, you know, go ahead, send it over. But it's not going to promote the job listing unless it's verified. And ignore the rest. Well, yeah, but we still need the link. We still need the link, right? If we're showing these, like let's say that this is a list of job listings, all of the job listings that, I don't know, me and the other users have submitted. So I'm interested in this one. So I'm gonna click into this one and it should take me to the original, you know, original one. So I can, you know, read it through, see if I love it, see if I'm qualified, etc. So then I can, you know, go back and click, right click, generate, you know, generate PDF, bam, that's it. That's what I'm saying. So I guess these need to be like into two phases. One is a job listing that is, one is a job listing that has been submitted by a user and it's only visible to the user. It's not verified, but that doesn't prevent us from, you know, generating the PDF. Does the job listing have all of these informations, skills, an optional salary range, title a must, location maybe, years of experience a must, degree, employment type? Does it have these informations? Sure. Well, it's a job listing then, right? So I'm gonna take your profile that you have here. Where is it? There we go. This one, and I'm gonna match it against this. Right? So here's a PDF that uses these informations to highlight these requirements. And there you go. You know, off you go. Goodbye. You have like, the PDF is going to be like available for 3 more days and I'm just going to automatically delete it later. We don't want to pay for storage, right? You have the PDF, download it, send it, and that's it. Or like keep it on your computer. It's a tool, right? I don't think we need to, you know, keep PDFs. So generate it, it's your responsibility now. But this could trigger a policy, you know, to validate it. Maybe we can like play with that later on. Like if we want to have this job list appear, maybe I don't know, maybe we can monetize that. You know, maybe that's something that we can monetize. I don't know. The company can come in and like, I don't know, say, yeah, these are, you know, these are ours, or we want these to show up on your website, so we'll pay you so that these job listings, you know, actually go public and they're not just be like user, you know, user specific. Maybe that can be a thing. Yeah. So in this case, the job listing is also going to have like a public true false. It's going to be false by default all the time unless we implement that, you know. Definitely an aggregate. Yeah, it's one of the central things of the website. Definitely that, and the resumes are like the 2 main things. Yeah, so job listing, it's official. This is an aggregate. And now we are going to turn this into a job listing ID. Of course, I need to convert these into camel case. Job listing ID, it's going to be green with white text. White text. There we go. So one down. Job listing is not here. The resume, right? It has a user, of course. The user is already an aggregate, so we'll just convert this to a user ID because we know it's not going to be nested. And then we have a position. And that position was defined here, right? So once we have the user, we're just going to say user dot get position, you know, or something like that. We'll figure it out. But these are going to be like position IDs, an array of positions that the user has, and these are going to be the ones that will be included into this specific resume. There it is. And now this is going to be an aggregate as well. Extra large text. There we go. And I think we're done now, right? These are going to be resume ID. Resume ID. Make them green because these are value objects now. They're not nested entities. Cool. So our application has just one nested entity, and that's the user profile, with another nested for the position. But yeah, we have the resume ID here. Let's put the user over here. Then we have the skill, and this is just going to be like a system-wide aggregate that we treat it as like a system-wide. We create some stuff, we validate if that's valid when someone asks, sends in something that looks like React with some, something that cannot be checked with regex, right? We're just gonna treat it as React. Maybe there's gonna be like some bugs, but we'll just let, I'm just gonna let you guys go in and report those bugs. Let's do that then. If there are bugs, if there are like edge cases, I'm just gonna leave that for production. Then we have the job listings, and the job listings, they just have this, right? Skills, salary range, title. We'll just scrape the hell out of the page, and we're gonna treat it not as public, right? As private. But if we want to, we can like make them public later on. Will I use clean architecture in React? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't tried clean architecture on the front end. We could try. We'll see. We'll see what we can achieve. But yeah, maybe we'll try like a vertical slice or something like that. Yeah, we'll see. It's not gonna be like the React project is not a full stack project. It's just a client side project. We have to keep that in mind. It just uses the Django API, so it does have like data sources, which in clean architecture is the infrastructure. The data sources are just going to use fetch to obtain the data from the repository. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I guess we can. I guess we can try clean architecture. Yeah. Or VSA, we'll see. Yeah, and then we have the resume, and I think this is it. I don't know. Feels like it's complete. Feels like, or at least I can't think of anything else right now. Just make these pretty and presentable. But yeah, if you think I'm missing anything, do let me know. Beautiful. All right. If these are the actual, aggregates, then I'm just gonna move these over here because we did them over here. I'm gonna scrape this, get the legend over here, and actually modify the legend, and I'm gonna put everything into a frame so it's contained. This, and this. There we go. These ones have the text set to white text instead of black text, and this one is cool. So this, I'm just gonna create a figure. Shift F. There we go. And this is going to be called aggregates, right? So if you zoom out, you'll see some gibberish here. Doesn't matter. Here's our aggregates, and here's our, you know, the process modeling process, or the outputs. And I'm just gonna scrape these. Actually, I'm gonna keep these, just so we, you know, we have them here, and when we revisit this page, or someone else revisits this page, they'll say, oh, okay, I need to do this now. Cool. Process modeling is here. Aggregates are here. We are ready to, you know, start building these out. And it's gonna be fun because we're gonna need to develop like the base classes, or yeah, base classes for all of these. There's gonna be like a base class for the entity. Let me just fix this real quick. So this is not, what is this? Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah. I feel good about this. Right? Let me let's do like a quick break. What is the time? We are live for like an hour and a half. Yeah, let's do a quick break at this point and be right back in like 2-3 minutes. It's 10:35. Yeah, 10:38. Sounds good. All right. Be right back. All right. Let's proceed. So we are going to start putting these into our API, into our project. One thing to note, these are going to be the applications in our Django project, right? They're going to have they're gonna have like a little clean architecture, you know, set up inside of them, and we're gonna develop like the value objects, the entities, the whole thing. So let's start. I'm doing this for the first time, by the way. Kitty, we already have the authentication here as like an application. I guess we can keep it or move it into the user. I don't know. But yeah, we have the authentication. We have docs, and in the docs, I only have the endpoints from the Rapid API that we used. And here's the main application. I'm just gonna go and create the user skill, job listing, and resume applications. And that can be done actually with a command. All right, which Python, it's in the project. Cool. So I'm going to say Python manage.py starts application. And I'm just gonna say user, because there's gonna be profiles, all the things in there. Aside from user, we also need skill. So skill, we have job listing. I'm just gonna keep it job listing without underscore or anything like that. Job listing and resume. There we go. So when we go back to the application, we'll see all of those created. There we go. Skill, user, resume, job listing. They're all here, see? Nice. And now we need to go to settings and actually add those. Install those. But before we do that, we need to do this infra, Django, you know, stuff like that. Okay, so let's do the user first. We have all of these things. So I'm just going to say infra Django, and I'm going to move admin here. I'm gonna move the apps as well. Yep. Tests, we'll see about that. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Actually, you won't be able to see that. Test is still not, yeah, it's still unresolved. But we have domain here, and then that's when we are going to create all these things. Infra is Django database. Database is going to be like the repository and the models as well. Okay. All right, so there's infra Django. We have the models. We'll say infra database. The database models, like this file right here, this is going to be, this is definitely going to be like an infra thing. User config is here. Nice. So I can basically say user infra Django apps, and then just user config, right? That's it. This one is installed. There was also a migration. There we go. Also need to add user infra database migrations. You know what? I like that we only change one thing at the start. So I'm just going to rename these as just config, because it's going to be easier. Django apps, and I'm just going to rename this to just plain config. That's it. And do the same for the user. There we go. So I can just say authentication, infra, user, infra, so I don't have to change two things. Okay, we got that. The database has the migration and repository. So migrations go into the database, and we reflect that as well. Yep. User infra database migrations. For the models, we didn't have a model here, but we are going to have a model there. The model is not part of the domain. It's literally, yeah, it is literally a database model. So we'll just move that to infra database, I guess, you know. It'll make more sense. Models inside of database. There we go. We still don't have anything there, but we're fine with that. Okay, infra is done. We have tests and views. Views are basically part of presentation rest. And we'll just grab views and put them there. And we're gonna do something like this with the container register URLs, you know. We'll do that. And once we do that, we're actually going to update the main URLs. But right here, right now we're done with this. Let's move on to the skill, I guess. Of course, we're going to create the domain entities. It should have been a folder. We have entities, we have value underscore objects. Again, should have been a folder, yeah. Entities, value objects, and the aggregate root is just inside of domain. We can like call it aggregate as well, but yeah. All right, we got that. We're also going to have application for the commands. And let's just keep it there. Let's continue now with the skill. I'm just gonna copy this one here. Yeah, whatever happened here. I'm gonna delete skill here. This is very weird. Application, domain, infra presentation. Doesn't matter, I'm just gonna create these manually. There's application, domain, entities. Inside we also have value objects. Again with a slash. We should read my mind. You of him. Not familiar with Django. Why do you need to create all these apps? That's like how Django apps are structured, as far as I understood. But technically they're like individual applications that can be pluggable, right? From one project to another, but I don't know. In this case, nope, it's not the case. I don't know. I saw one project like that, and it reminds me of, you know, those, reminds me of that. Let's see, Django DDD. Django the DDD way. All right, so dummy application, domain, what's in domain? Nothing. Django DDD. App template, apps, config, man. Oh, this is like a app folder, application, domain, infra, migrations, admin, models. In it. This is not a. Let's check out this one. Test to do user. Yeah, see, like for every aggregate root, you basically create an application, like a module. Yeah. So for example, for to do, you have application domain, infra presentation domain is the entity, and exceptions are there as well. Next.js zones. I haven't even seen what Next.js zones are. Is that like a new thing? But yeah, see this one, application config. This is just the stuff inside of the application. We have one application, basically, item and lists. These are like not complex enough, you know, projects to reflect on that. Hey Patrick, you could just have one app and put everything there, but you might want apps to separate concerns and make things more modular. Yeah. Yeah, like basically every aggregate defines its own database model, defines its own API endpoints, everything. Yeah. Yeah, we could have just like go with, you know, folders. Oh, you create multiple Next.js applications in a single shell application. Interesting. I didn't know that, you know, you could do that. I know you can like attach something. You had to do like with URLs and rewrites, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I guess that's what we're doing here. We created a bunch of applications, like an application per aggregate, so that inside of that aggregates we can define everything. Now let's see. We're going to need to use one aggregate inside of the other. Oh, hold on a second. There was a rule. Hold on a second. There was a rule, if I remember correctly. Like, you can reference one aggregate into another, but you gotta make sure that you're referencing the aggregate root, not the actual, you know. But I mean, actually, we are referencing position IDs here, but this is the aggregate roots ID, the user. We need to keep them, the position IDs here, which are, you know, nested. But we're going to obtain that data through the aggregate root. The aggregate root is going to have a method called getPosition, you know, by skill, technology, I don't know. Or maybe even, or maybe there's gonna be like a method to receive a qualification, or, you know, a skill, and basically return that. We'll see. Yeah. I know, yeah, we cannot access a nested one without the aggregate. So that's the situation here. Should we actually do something about that? We have the user ID here, right? The user ID has the positions. Oh, didn't mean to do that. The user ID has positions, but we need unique, like specific unique positions for per resume. That's basically what we're trying to achieve here. This is fine. We are referencing the root here. This is fine. We are referencing the root, aggregate roots. This is the only situation here. We're referencing a nested entity that belongs to this aggregate root. So maybe we should just have a copy. Like have a resume position and a user position. I don't know. It's usually the same, you know, it's usually the same thing. But it's going to be, oh, hold on a second now. Hold on a second now. They need to be copied. There should be a different position inside of the resume, because part of the value that this product, you know, will provide is going to be using AI to work on the description, you know, and like, and the skills, and maybe there should be skills under this position as well, just so we can match them. But once we match them, right, for a specific resume, we need to copy them over into like a different entity in the resume and have them, have those like descriptions edited. Basically, that's going to be, or maybe even the title, right? I found an interesting application that pretty much does that. It's called JobRite. And it does exactly that. Let's see, do I have... let me actually try this. I'm gonna hide my... Okay, so it must be Google then. Cool. Here's the application. I found this one. It's cool that it has like a match, but it's basically that you create your profile. There's a LinkedIn, there's a PDF as well. This is what I did from, I imported it from a PDF. That was this PDF basically, the one that we saw. But it actually went through, like combed through all of these stuff. And like, used AI to make them better, right? It didn't suggest any skills. In education, of course, languages, that's all like freehand. But it did, see, there's like a one urgent fix. There were like critical fixes, optional fixes, urgent fixes, etc. There we go, last updated 17 days ago. So I can reanalyze this and it's going to give us some, it's going to give us basically some stuff to, some tips. You can actually rewrite this in that way so it's more, showcasing your skill in this case right here. But there's also jobs. And yeah, there's also like good match, growth opportunity, work-life balance, some stuff like that, And let's say this one there, 86%, that's pretty strong. Senior software developer, based on the experience, based on the skill, based on the industry. But I'm not sure that, it doesn't custom tailor the resume. I can just say apply now, I think. Enhance your resume instantly. Oh, there's even, yeah, generate my custom. Okay, there we go. There is a generate custom resume for it, and it'll give me the resume. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is a job listing. It gives me, see how it's nicely, we can do something like this as well with the, you have this, you don't have this. But yeah, when you generate a custom, resume, I already have this profile, but it might not include, I don't know, the creature's entry, right? It has nothing to do with that. I cringe every time I see a generated text anywhere that is split into bullet points with colons and descriptions. You immediately know it's ChatGPT. Yeah, gives it away. But yeah, nevertheless, this was weird. I just want to have like a description, that's it. Bullet points or not, it's gonna be like one single text. I don't know. Maybe bullet points are better. We should validate that, with a hiring manager or something like that. But yeah, hey, how's it going? Damn, your username is really hard. PRZNSEDZ. I don't know. P. PR. I'm gonna call it PR. But yeah, this is maybe bullet points are, better for hiring managers. Like this. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. My point is, you have a core resume, or what I like to call a profile, right? Yeah, man, this is it. We're done. But yeah, you have a core, resume. I like to call it profile. But when you go to jobs, you look at your matches. There's even like a chatbot here. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's great to see you again. Cool. I can basically apply to these, right? Optimized, you will have stuff and optimized stuff for something that like that. So everything can be optimized. You will have stuff and optimized stuff. I was thinking not to keep them in the profile, but like just keep a copy inside of the resume. So I don't have a resume for this principal software engineer, right? But if I feel cool for like with this 68% with I don't know why, I can like hit apply, generate my custom resume, and these informations will be copied over, right? And they're going to be further optimized. But the data is going to sit here. That way, we will not be referencing embedded, like nested entities. We're just going to be referencing the user, the core, the aggregate root here, which will pull the original, not didn't mean to do that, but like pull the original positions and stuff and further optimize them, but keep local copies here. Because as a user with my positions, I can go and apply it to multiple job listings, right? My core profile is going to be used, copied over to those resumes, and they're going to be further optimized. So that's why I'm thinking like we can have a position in the user profile that is like the user's position, and then we can have a position in the resume which is going to be copied over initially, but then you know it will be further optimized, rewrote, right? Let's try that. We're not gonna be doing this. We might need to change some, you know, some names. But I don't like how this looks like. We're gonna need a lot of space here. Yeah, let's not start just yet until we figure this out. Okay, so here's the resume. It has these 4, but it's gonna have like another set of positions that we want to highlight, that we're going to copy over from the original profile, right? But they're gonna be like just a copy. We are going to modify these. We're not gonna modify these. We can, you know, give the user an opportunity. Hey, do you want to like, you know, further optimize these? If you want it, like job right can do, we can do that. But yeah, not a requirement. In this case, now the resume is correct, I think. Right? Yeah. All right, let's try to add these. These are a lot. I mean, these are just... Should I scrape these? Title. Of course, there's gonna be like a title. I don't think we need to necessarily have all of these here, because the space, we're gonna lose space in no time. Well, let's just, you know, let's just try that. Okay. More space. Okay. Very productive stream. All right. Okay, we are happy, and this one is just gonna be here. Go in the middle. Don't rotate, please. Get here. You belong here. And now it looks like something. Cool. Align these. That's it. All right, there we go. Now I think we're good. Right? Cool. We're gonna keep a copy of that position here, and we need to like rename this to be like a resume position instead of like a user position, or maybe this is gonna be like a work experience or a work position. I don't know. We're talking about the same things, but we're gonna keep them as different entities because, for example, I don't know, we're using AI, right? If I try to optimize my resume for 3 job listings, but the 3 of them are front-end related, there's gonna be 3 sets of the same positions, just rewritten in a different. They're gonna be like rewritten in a different format, right? So that's what I'm saying. We're just gonna like copy them over to the resume and keep them as that. All right. Yeah. Now the things that we're referencing, like job listing ID here, the user ID here, we have the skill ID here. We're only referencing aggregate roots. We're not referencing nested entities. Okay. Yeah, that is a really important rule that we need to, keep in mind, that we cannot be jumping over the aggregate roots and referencing nested entities. Let us proceed. Domain entities and value objects are here. We're gonna create more, but let's say infra Django, and inside infra we're also gonna be creating a database. Admin, go to Django. Apps, go to Django. Models, go to database. Migrations, go to database. And we're also going to need presentation/rests. We're going to keep the views there, but we're going to rename it later. Cool. Now let's go to infra, Django, and apps, and just rename this as just plain config. If Django yells at us, sure, we're going to, change that. But so far, it's just going to be config. And now we have skill. Skill is done. Hey, Digital, how's it going? There we go. This should be up. Then it's U, and then it's S. S should be up actually if we're going the alphabetical way. Yes, we are. There we go. Authentication, and then S, and then U. Cool. Let's do the resume now. Admin goes to Django. Apps go to Django. Models go to models. Oh, I'm pressing S. Should have been pressing X. Models go to database. Migrations go to database. And we have presentation rests. We put the views there. Now we go to apps and rename this to just plain config, and then register this. This was resume. Resume goes here. Nice. There we go. We are going to need to go into the main application URLs here in this file and just like re-register the whole thing, but we'll figure out that later. Now we have job listing. This goes to database, admin goes to Django. Did I paste it? Nope. Should be here. Apps go to Django. Models go to... Okay, I saw. I need to... No, not tests. No tests yet. What is going on? What? Okay. Close all. Open again. All right, updated. Damn, this is annoying. Cool. Are you happy now? Let's see. Okay. Job listing? Yeah. Presentation / rests. Move the views. We'll circle back later. And actually, yeah, that's about it. Let's go to infra, Django, apps, and rename this. Go back to settings. Oh, resume, and this is job listing, migration module, and also the applications. There we go. So we have all of the applications installed, all of the migration modules hooked up. So when we start adding our models, they're gonna work. They're going to get migrated successfully. The only thing that we need to do, and it's not a small thing, is go through our aggregate routes now and change the views to use that to use the DRF Django REST framework. Okay, presentation, REST. Actually, I'm gonna go to authentication because that's where we have the presentation, REST URLs. I'm gonna keep it here. I'm just gonna do pretty much the same thing here. The views should be URLs and not views. There's our URLs. I'm just gonna copy this over without the register because we don't have it. This is going to be job list. Job listing, no. Oh, it is job listing. Okay, job listing it is then. And no, also no paths like this. I'm gonna, yeah, comment this out. We don't need this one. Organize the imports, save this, but we're still exporting URL patterns. This is what we need, basically. This is what we need. So I'm gonna close this and go ahead and, you know, just revisit all the other aggregate routes. Rename these to URLs. And just paste it. Well, not that. Paste this, copy it again, actually, change this to resume, save it, go to skill then. Skill, presentation, rests, rename this to URLs, paste it. This is going to be skill. And we also have the user. Nice. Okay. All of our aggregate routes have their own applications with their own URL patterns. None of them have any views yet. We're going to... That's the API, the views. So let's just go into the main I'm gonna close all the buffers here. Let's go back to the main application, URLs, and basically just include all of the, all the stuff here. So let's figure this one out. This basically defines all the URLs, right? So we have authentication going on auth/, right? And looking at the aggregate that we did, it only has the user profile and an array of resume IDs. So we are going to have a model for the user profile, but we need to modify the Django user to add these two things additionally. So we're going to get into that now. But yeah, we have that there, and it's fine if, you know, if API wise we have the authentication here. It doesn't mean that that's an aggregate root, but yeah. Oh, it's pronounced presence design. Good to know, thanks. But yeah, authentication will remain an application that is not necessarily an aggregate root. Okay. But these ones now, how do we figure out the paths, or should we just like add them and revisit the, you know, revisit this later? Just need to add all of the aggregate roots, but should they all start with their own, you know, aggregate root, like aggregate name / and then all the other stuff? Maybe they should, yeah. Or the resume should be under user, like user / something. Yeah. Interesting. I'm just gonna keep them separate for now. So we have job listing, and namespace is job listing. Cool. I'm gonna copy this over and look at this trick now. Control N and cut insert. That's going to be resume. Escape, save. Beautiful. That's like visual multi-cursor. Cool stuff. Bam, bam, bam. Cut skill. User. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 aggregate roots. All of them have their own, you know, router now. They're all connected. Yeah, Control D, I know. I wanted that, so I found a way to do it in NeoVim as well. Cool. All right. Yeah, we have everything here. This is done, and now I think we are ready to actually just do a quick push here. Oh, so much stuff. I'm going to say initial aggregates apps. I don't know, skeleton. There we go. Skeleton is set up. The applications are registered. The migrations are registered, and also the URLs are connected. So now, whenever we work in a specific aggregate, everything is going to be inside of that folder, because everything else is already hooked up. Migrations and URLs and the whole mumbo jumbo. So, where should we start? Left to right, right? Let's get the user out of, or should we like just get our feet wet with the skill aggregate? because it's pretty simple, right? Yeah, let's go with the skill aggregate. So the skill aggregate, inside of the domain, we're just going to have skill.py or skill underscore aggregate. There we go. Dashes in Python, that's not a thing, right? Yeah, not a thing, because importing them, you can't use dashes, you gotta use underscores. Yeah. Okay, so we're definitely gonna need a common as well, like a shared or common. So let's create a common application. Definitely shouldn't be an application, I think. Let's see, site github.com python ddd. There's definitely going to be ddd-py right into it. Yeah, this is like a single application, most likely, with one. Oh, there's two entities. So there's no shared stuff then. So this is an application. Like there's a shared kernel where we have the base classes for the entities and value objects. But let's see if they actually register this. Display exception, shared tests. Oh yeah, this is a fast API. So, not a Django one actually. Should have written Django. But yeah, I don't think we need that as an application. Or actually we do need it as an application if we want to import it. Yeah, okay, still, let's create one more application here. It's going to be common. And we're gonna put all the base classes that we're going to extend over there. And yeah, just like a bunch of common stuff in there. There's common. I need to just scaffold the same here. So infra database, infra Django, domain. What else is there? There are no views. Tests, maybe, I don't know. No models. Probably not admin as well. There's nothing to do here. We just need to keep some, you know, base stuff here. Apps. Well, yeah, this is the application. Let me just see. I gotta see. I gotta see if, you know, Django DDD has like common stuff that are either applications or just like plain shared. There we go. There's the shared. So we do have shared. Where's the infra Django settings? So that is the shared basically, right? The application is called shared, and basically the main settings file is in there. So no new application necessarily. It's just all here in the Millionaire API, and that is like the shared application basically. All right, I'm fine with that actually. I'm fine. We just need to like update manage.py because manage.py points here. See? Yeah. Well, let's do that. I'm going to rename this to, instead of Millionaire API, I'm just gonna do like shared. There's shared, right? And now there's no init. We don't need an init, do we? There is one here. We'll keep it then. We need the infra Django. I'm gonna move settings.py in there. Infra Django. ASGI, WSGI, and settings. Which is basically all except for the URLs. But aside from that, we also have presentation slash rest. And I'm gonna move the URLs over there. Yeah, presentation, rests, there's the URLs. There's also like containers. Response is probably, yeah, these are like contracts. And they're using Ninja. We're not using Ninja. We need to see how we're going to develop the contracts. You know, to have a schema. Like if we're gonna need Zod in the Python ecosystem, basically. Yeah, we're gonna need Zod in Python. But basically, that's pretty much it, right? This is like a service that's just floating there. And outside of shared, outside of source, the manage.py points to, of course, shared infra Django settings. And we might need to like update that one as well. So manage.py points to shared infra Django settings, because that's the new location. But now the settings, where should it point? For those URLs. Where do we put, because we moved the URLs as well. Oh, there we go. The root URL config is not here. It's going to be in shared presentation rest URLs, right? Damn it. Shared presentation rest URLs. And also the WSGI application. Yeah. Shared infra Django WSGI. Infra Django WSGI. Basically, millionaire underscore API should just be that. And it is only that. There is no other mention of the old application name. Cool. Shared presentation, rest URLs, shared presentation, rest URLs. These are all the URLs. Admin just comes from Django. We have the authentication application, job listing application. Beautiful. Right? It's all pretty. Let me actually run this. Python manage.py. Oh, hold on. We also need the Docker Compose. Run server, was it? Yeah, run server. Okay, so far so good. Let's boot up Rapid API and try to log in. Okay, there we go. This one works. Oh, whiskey files. Like whiskey. I'm going to adapt that. Whiskey files. Okay, let's refresh our token. There it is. The new access token. Let's log out. Put this in the blacklist. Beautiful. Cool. Okay. So now we have like shared app, right? Now we have the shared application, and in here it is still, you know, with info presentation, we can create a domain. Is this your first time with Python in general or just Django? Python in general, which of course means Django as well. Yeah, just like learning Python right now. But yeah, we have shared application right here, right above here. And we can start creating our base classes for like the entities, the value objects, aggregates most likely as well. All of that is going to happen here. So domain in the shared. And let's see. We'll come back to this one maybe later if we even do. Domain, yeah, plain classes at the top. These are just going to be like base classes. But once we get into an application like to do, domain has, oh, it's still plain classes. Okay, cool. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Production is down. What can you do? Well, things. Check your sentry. GitHub.com domain driven design example, regardless of language. Just give me anything. This is Java. Commons, catalog, and lending. So the commons, aggregates, commands, events. Oh yeah, this is just DDD, but not clean. Architecture, which is cool. Catalog. Exactly. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. We just do something real quick. Damn it. Sorry about that. Give me like a second. Cool. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna complicate things. If we want, we can put them in, you know, if we have multiple entities, which I don't think we do, we're gonna put them in folders. User profile position. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Doesn't matter. Everything's gonna be flat. As you can see, like we have mostly, not too many entities. We're gonna have this main user, skill, job listing, and then you have the profile with the position. But then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. Let's work on the entity first. Hold on. Let's work on the entity first. I'm thinking the base entity. I'm gonna call this base entity or just share that. Let's just go base entity. It's in the domain. Cool. There are some rules for the entity. First and foremost, it has to have an ID. We need to implement like an equality operator. Like when we say position 1 equals position 2, we should override the equality operators so it only you know, compares their IDs and not their values. We're going to do the values for the value objects, and values, all of the values, they're basically the way that the comparison is done on a value type. Will basically need to have all of the properties, generate their hashes, XOR them together, and then compare those hashes between those two value objects. And if their values are the same, then they are the same value object, right? Because value objects do not have IDs, entities do. So that's one thing to do. Let me see what the robot says. What are the characteristics of value objects? I'm implementing value objects in Python. What rules or methods should I implement? They're the key concept in DDD, and unlike entities, they're identified by their unique identity. Value objects are defined solely by their attributes, by their properties, right? And their equality is based on the values they hold. Why would you need an app-specific concept like routes and views in shared? Shouldn't shared be used for reusable modules that other apps can consume instead? Yeah, but I mean, we put the main application there. You know, the one that's created for you. It's not even an application, right? It's just the Django config. So it's not really shared, right? We're not. I don't know. Yeah, I just renamed that file, and now we have infra in there with the ASGI settings, and you can't see this, but ASGI settings and WSGI, these are like the root stuff. They're in shared. We don't really they're not technically shared, right? We're not reusing these files anywhere. They're just there. And the presentation as well, we're not doing that. The only thing that we're going to be reusing is the domain, right? Yeah, maybe we should like clean this up. Let's clean this up. We don't need an app for that. I was thinking those server settings would be within each application. You can do that? You would never mount the shared application. Yeah. So we can have like a shared folder directory at the root and just let it reuse them. We don't need to register that as an application in order to import it, right? Yeah. I guess we don't need them. Okay. Let's do some cleanup actually. Let's do some cleanup. That was a I like that. So presentation and infra, that's in the root application. And how is that called? Like when you create a Django project, you have the first application and you also have that folder with the name of the project. How is that called? That's not the root. Is that like config? Maybe config, or just like the Django stuff. Also, ASGI and WSGI, those are for the servers. They should be in shared, like not shared, but like they should be in the root project, right? Because if we're running this, all of the applications are basically, we're running all of the applications with ASGI or WSGI, right? Or you mean if we cut them up into like microservices and individually put them with their own server? In that case, yeah, we do need to ship the ASGI and WSGI to define what's right. That's the way that I'm connecting the dots right now. But let me know if I'm wrong. Okay. So the presentation URLs, that's basically for the whole application. That would be in the root. The settings as well. Those two things will definitely be in the project settings. So might as well just like undo a bunch of stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna create a new folder, millionaire underscore API, and let's just bring back shared URLs in there. And I'm gonna kill this one and go settings as well. And also ASGI. And I'm gonna keep everything in like a Yeah, they're not part of the... Yeah, shared is going to be like the domain. That's it. So now we need to go to manage.py and then just do millionaire API dot settings, and inside millionaire API dot settings, the root URL config should be millionaire API dot URLs. WSGI as well. We need to get this one as well. Millionaire API. Yeah, these are not shareables, right? We don't share the WSGI, ASGI settings and URLs, so it makes sense to be out of the shared directory, right? How you want to mount the different applications, and also what the common approach is. I'm basing my thoughts on how Rails engines work, the Rails equivalent of Django applications. Yeah, I have no idea how Rails engines work, and I have no idea, is there like a different way to mount the different applications? Actual URLs so they can be served, or just hold on to models you can reuse? Interesting. I didn't know that. And I don't even know that they can be mounted different. Like you can handle one application with... Is mounting running in servers? Like I have an application and I want to run it in, you know, as a separate server. Is that how it's done in Django? Okay, shared right now has nothing. It's not even an application that has been registered. It's like adding their routes to your own base application. That's actually what we're doing. In the URLs, these are those applications: job listing, resume, skill, and user. And I'm just saying, yeah, these are their URLs, and you know they're prefixed with job listing / resume / and then inside they define their own routes, even their own routers as well. Like we use DRF, but some of these applications can just use Ninja, and it's gonna be perfectly fine. It's just gonna be, you know, one redundant dependency. Don't run on their own separate server. Okay, yeah. Well, I guess that's the case. Like if we want to split this up into microservers, we have the application, we have everything. We just need to have we just need to copy the ASGI and WSGI and the settings into those, you know, little individual Django servers for the individual applications, and that's it basically. But yeah, right now we'll just keep this. This is like more of a server config. We're running one server for the whole application, not microservers. So this is the server config, ASGI and WSGI especially. S is for server, and this is just for the application. But we don't share these. We have the shared, and I'm just gonna delete the init.py. We don't need that. What's hidden here then? PyCache. Okay. Yeah, we have the base entity here. It's in shared /domain. So if I define this and go back to a class and use this entity.py, it's all gonna be good, right? I think you want to look at Docker when you get as far as microservices. Yeah, definitely. But it will literally be cut out an aggregate root, cut it out of this project, put it into their own, you know, their own project, copy this server config, paste it there, and there's your Docker image. And of course, you know, the manage.py and you know, other requirements, etc. But that's the general idea, right? It's a general idea. And of course, in the root, you're gonna need a load balancer and stuff. But yeah, we're not getting into that. Cool. So let's work on our entity. Won't be difficult to copy the server layer stuff. Yeah, let's start with the skill. Actually, let's start with the base entity. So let's go to the robots, and we also had like we saw an interesting domain-driven design in Django. Was it this one? Django DDD apps config template application. So there's nothing inside. It wasn't this. It was this one, I think. Source shared domain entity. There we go. Yeah. So this is the entity, and it already has the hash and the equality operator as well. Cool. It's like an organized monolith. Totally fine. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I like the approach. I like the Django approach, which is not something that you get out, for example, when you're working with Next.js, you know. So yeah. All right, I'm going to steal this class because it looks like it's, you know, it has everything that we need. We have data classes. I also learned that data classes used to be a separate package, but since Python 3.11, they are part of the official language, so we don't need to do that. And also typing. Typing, it is a module built in Python. Cool. Nice. I'm yet to learn about these PEP things. But yeah. Okay, so here's our entity. We know that it's going to have an ID. It's always needs to have an ID. This is the equality operator, right? We have the right side of the equation. And if the other is an instance of the type of the self, right? If we're talking about two of the same instances and that entity versus that entity, sure, then, you know, return if their IDs are the same. Otherwise, they're not, because they're not even from the same class, right? And here's the hash method overriding, and we just hash the ID, self.id. We're gonna do pretty much the same thing for the base value object, but we're not gonna have an ID. We are going to have the, you know, read all of the properties, generate their hashes, those kind of things. Cool. Now this thing is a type variable. I don't know what this is, so I'm going to take the time to learn what it is, and I'm going to ask a different kind of robot here. PEP is the code formatting standards, basically the equivalent of a mix, ESLint, and prettier. Okay, interesting. Let's check out this entity type. What does this line do? I'm gonna be blunt like this. What does this line do? This line defines a type variable entity type that is bound to the entity class. This means that entity type can be used to represent any type that is a subclass of entity. Okay? It is useful for type hinting and ensuring type safety in generic classes or functions. Cool. So basically we're defining the type of the entity class that is bound to the entity class. Okay? This means that entity type can be used to represent any type that is a subclass of entity. Okay, yeah. So if we have like commands, right, stuff like that, and we need to accept an argument, and we need to put a constraint, right, that argument needs to be an entity type or a derived entity type, we're gonna use this entity type thingy that we just created. I said entity type way too many times, but yeah, that's basically it. I like this. Cool. It's basically types, right? It's a base type. It must be a way to define a reusable type outside of hinting syntax, like, you know, without using the typing package, like type entity type of t equals something like that. Is there a type? It is a class, it says. Maybe. Let's ask then. Is there another way to define reusable types without using the typing module? Yeah. Yes, you can define reusable types using the class inheritance without the typing module. For example, you can create a base class and then inherit from it. Well, that's what we're going to do. However, using the typing module, and you can see this. However, using the typing module with the type var and other type hints provides more flexibility and better type checking, especially for generic programming. Okay. I guess we'll stick with that. I guess we need to hit a wall. I need to hit a wall to understand this whole thing. I guess just reading it doesn't, you know, do it justice. But yeah. KW only means probably like a keyword arguments only. So there's our base entity, right? So if we go to skill, domain entities, and create skill underscore entity dot py, most likely, and do class skill, I can basically extend our own entity class right here. And we need to call super here. But let's first bring in from shared domain entities import. Wait, no, what? Shared domain base entity. There we go. Okay, so we need to call super. Yeah, there we go. Self.super, and we need to pass in the ID. It's not self then, it's just super. Class type. Wait, how was that? A class type. Okay, let's see. Let's see what is being done here then. There we go. Oh, we're missing the data class, so we are gonna add that. And there's no init, so maybe that's the case, yeah? From data classes, import data class. Correct. And I need to annotate this as data class with the, what was the equality equals false. Whatever that means. Oh. Okay, no init. Because it's going to, you know. Oh, there's a class method here. This is basically how we do what? This is a to do class user contents do tab. It returns a to do. Oh, this is like a constructor for the to do that also accepts a user. Okay, doesn't matter. We don't have anything right now, so let's just check our skill. It has label and a bunch of aliases. So we'll have a label, which is going to be a string, and aliases, which is going to be an array of strings. How is this an array of strings? No. Is this an array of strings? No. How do we define an array of stuff in Python? This is where I'm at. the other way. Other way. Oh, a list of string. Beautiful. Lists of string. Beautiful. Then I don't know. Organize it yourself then. All right, we have the label and the aliases here. It automatically has an ID because it is extending the entity base class. But most likely this data class thingy does return that. So this is like how we can create. This is how we can create an alternative. Constructor that takes in all of these arguments most likely. So yeah, we are gonna need this as well. Data class method. Class method, new. Can you cover how you set up Python PSP with NeoVim at the end of the session? I tried to set up mine, but it didn't work as it was supposed to go with auto-completion. Oh, I can show you. I'm using LazyVim. So it basically does the, does that under the hood. You can check it out, but yeah, I can show you what I have locally. All right, so first we have the CLS. And then we have the parameters, the properties that we have. So label and also aliases. Why are stuff moving? I don't know. And we need to return skill. So we are returning that CLS method, and we're passing the label and the aliases, but they're like keywords only. So label equals label and aliases equal aliases. Oh, hold on a second. I need the, wait a minute. This is the to-do. And why does it say that this is not defined? I guess that's the future annotations. I also need to learn what that is. That was the thingy. Yeah. Record of phased-in incompatible language changes. Each line is of the form feature, blah, blah, blah. You can annotate it. Okay, let's just like keep it like this. Okay, so we have skill. We have the entity. And we have the base entity, and probably KW only means like keyword arguments only. So when we return the CLS method, like the constructor, we needed to provide the keywords. Like that's what I'm thinking. That's the linking right there. And aside from that, it only has, it says EQ equals false, probably because we want to use the entity, the base classes equality operator that we defined, and not the default one that comes with a class. I don't know. That's what that tells me. Let's actually ask a robot. I'm gonna select this and do, does the KW only make us always put the names of the arg properties instantiating the base, this class. Just make sure that that's the case. Yes. The keywords only parameter in the data class decorator makes that all the fields of the data class are keyword only. This means that when you instantiate it, you must specify the names. You can't just say one or two, or like ID is that it has to be keyword only. Thank you very much. And now let's also ask it about the EQ. Does the EQ equals false mean that this class won't be defining a base equality operator, but will be using the base classes equality operator? I wonder if you need to define it in the skill class too, the keyword only flag. That's only if we define. Let's see. No, EQ false. Decorator means that the data class will not generate the EQ. Okay, instead of providing it will not generate the EQ method for this class. It means that the instances of this class will not be compared to equality based on their fields unless you explicitly define the EQ, because we did in the base class. It does not imply that it will use the base class's equality. Well, it will, right? It will. Okay, so Patrick says, should we define the keyword only flag for our skill class as well? I guess, yeah. Keyword only is true. So if we say this, we are adding the keywords here, and this is basically that, right? I wonder what this is. What does this method do? Is this like a constructor thing? The new class method in the skill class is a factory method that creates and returns a new instance of the skill. Oh, we can do skill.new and then pass in a label and alias, right? It's like a static method, a static constructor. Okay. It takes two parameters. It then calls the class constructor with these parameters to create the new instance. Right. So yeah, I guess we can do that then, right? We can say skill dot new. There it is. And like the label is going to be here. Please just say new. There we go. And the list is going to be empty. So this is the thing, right? Yeah, the constructor is created by the data class. We can say skill.new. But if we say, I don't know, s equals skill as like the class, we should, and if we say again the same thing, it's gonna complain because we have keywords only. Yeah, zero positional. So we gotta say label equals this, and then aliases equal this. Now it's gonna be happy, right? That's it. I wonder then why is this here, like skill.new? Or we can, just use, in this case, it's like the same. Label and aliases, label and yeah, it feels like it's a repetition. We don't need that. We also have keywords only as well. Yeah, I'd rather just use the constructor than like a static method that still invokes the constructor. I'm gonna invoke the constructor. And with the keywords set to true, we can basically, do that. Okay. Cool. So we have our first entity, and it doesn't actually do anything. We are going to, let's see, update contents, update due date. It only has the updates here. But there's gonna be like commands. Create to do. There's that to do.new. No, we'll just say to do equals, there's the user, there's that, and then have the repo, and then just pass it off to the repository, and the repository will know how to map it out. But let's move on. For example, we have the entity here, and the idea is that we are using and working with entities until we come to a point where we need to save them to the database. That's when we are going to define a mapper that takes an entity and converts it into like a database model so that it can be saved. Don't know if it's possible here, but most of the time when creating instances in DDD world, you use static factories and private constructors to have the validation inside, so it's always a valid instance. Yeah, maybe that is the case, right? Like if we have that static method, we can have validation before actually instantiating it. But can we say like the class does not have a public constructor? Use Pydantic. I've heard of that. Haven't just used it right now. Haven't used it yet. Okay. There's our thingy from Pydantic. We can import the base model. We extend that. And we say this is a datetime, this is a tuple. So what does the base model in Pydantic do? Hey McPillar, welcome. We're doing great. We started writing some code. Yeah, this does look like Zod from Python. I wonder what ID is of type int. The annotation only declaration tells Pydantic that this field is required. Strings, bytes, or floats will be coerced or to integers if possible. Otherwise, an exception will be raised. So if we tried to create a user and not provide the ID, it'll throw that like, yeah. If we don't provide sign up timestamp, it's just gonna say, okay, cool, you don't have one right now. This one is a string because it has a default. It's not required. This one is marked as or none. Yeah. And this one is a dictionary with strings keys and positive integer values. The positive int is for annotated int, annotated types greater than 0. Interesting. So that comes from Pydantic. We have this external data. Okay. If we pass the external data and like pass all of the named, all of the keys is like named arguments. I guess the 2 stars basically says that. We get the ID here. If validation fails, Pydantic will raise an error with a breakdown of what was wrong. Now this is not an integer. Tastes is an empty dictionary. If we try to do that, then we're gonna have input should be a valid integer, unable to parse string as an integer. Cool. So that's basically Pydantic. It's a validation error. Okay. Yeah. Values are defined in the static method and return an invalid color format error, for example. Yeah. So if we use Pydantic, that's like out of the box, right? You just have it out of the box. Or if we want to have like a different constructor, we can just do another init, right? Can you have multiple inits with like different signatures in a Python class? It would be great if you could. Do you have any good tips on how to prepare for an interview or code tests? Ooh. Should I just grind lead code, or there are better ways nowadays? That's a long topic. That is a long topic. Maybe we should talk about it some other time. Also because I don't know. A custom static method then for the alternative constructors. Okay. More explicit than overloading the constructor. Yeah. Well, basically what Evie posted, color.fromRGB, that's a static method. Okay. So everyone is using Pydantic. We should be using it as well, probably. Right. So, but we can also like define. We can also use Pydantic to define the contracts as well, right? Like the contracts for the request and the response. Like this API route has to accept these values, and we have to return. Yeah. Okay, I'm sold on Pydantic actually. Yeah, let's get it 2.10 then. Yeah. Or will they also change 300 million times a month? That is a lot. I'm gonna go to requirements. Add it somewhere here. 2.10. This is up. Now let's do Python. No, pip actually. Pip install requirements. Nice. Pydantic, he said ChatGPT also uses Pydantic. Yeah, we saw the logo here. Where the logos were. Yeah, there we go. Really cool. Okay, so we have Pydantic. That means, aside from entity, I can also extend on the base model from Pydantic, right? On the base model. On superclass with many common utilities available via instance method. Let's see what that is actually. Okay, we already went through this. So we can even like do a model validate function inside of that class and like do our validation ourselves. If you want to do something more complex. It's very similar to the init method, except it takes a dictionary or an object rather than the keyword arguments. If the object passed cannot be validated, or if it's not a dictionary, a validation error will be raised. And we can probably override that as well. Oh no, it's actually, oh, okay. Okay. So once we extend from the base model, we get that validation out of the box. It's not how we validate it. Definitely 310. It's not how we validate it, but actually we can use this as like an API later on. Try to validate it, you know. If it throws, it throws. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have the label and the aliases, and I can say that like by default, aliases are going to be an empty array, right? And so it's not required, but the label is always required. And there's also the ID from an ID from the entity, but this one is not required because, of course, if we create a new skill and we haven't saved it yet, we're not gonna have an ID. That happens later, right? All right. Yeah, from Pydantic import base model, and we can just add base model here. I'll just clean this up. Does the order matter? Like if I put base model before entity or entity, you know, before base model, does that matter? Yes, it does. Okay, hold on now. Yeah, the order of the classes in the class definition matters. When you define a class that inherits from multiple base classes, Python uses the method resolution order to determine the order in which base classes are searched when executing the method. The MRO is primarily determined by the order in which the base classes are listed in the class definition, right there. For example, class A, it has a method, class B has a method, and C extends from A and B. And when we invoke C, we'll print A because A is listed before B. But we have to, right? We need this if we want to use Pydantic, right? Okay, but this is like if these have different methods, which will of course override some of the stuff. Yeah. Let's ask it then. In this case, damn it, I have a base entity class and also a base model class that comes from Pydantic. What should I pay attention to when doing multiple inheritance? Let's see what the robot says. Initialization, compatibility. Well, there's no way to know that. Oh, I can do entity.init and then base model.init if we wanted to do that. In this example, skill inherits from both entity and base model. The init method ensures that both classes are initialized correctly. Ugh. Really? Yeah, this one, actually, yeah, this is a data class, which is keyword only. So if we do entity and just initialize it with the ID, that's going to be cool. Should be cool. But then we also need to pass the base model and avoid passing the ID to it, but just pass the label and the aliases. Okay. We're not gonna do that. Let's actually reach that point first, and then we might have like some we might have more ideas as to like how we can handle the validation. We'll keep it simple for now. This is it, and that's it. Okay, we'll circle back, but basically, yeah, the skill is done. Let's go back to this robot, and actually say, let's ask it about value objects and not value object, about entities and what they should like contain, right? What about entities? I created an entity class for a skill entity that only has a label, string, and aliases. A list of strings. What should that class define? Let's see if the robot is smart enough. But yeah, basically need the we need the methods to update the entity. I just want to like glance through the rules and the characteristics of entities before we do that. Must have a unique identifier. Check. Encapsulation of behavior. The entity should encapsulate domain-specific behaviors related to its attributes. Bear in mind, this is also like the root entity as well. This is the root entity. So in this case, we don't have any like nested entities, but in the case of user, for example, we'll have a user profile. The user profile should probably contain methods for... No, the user will contain methods for the positions or user profile. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Should validate its state to ensure that it's always consistent. There's the validation. Yeah, the entity should encapsulate domain-specific behaviors related to its attributes. The identifier, we already got this. There's a post in it that we can do to raise value errors if we want to do validation manually. There we go. Attribute validation. This was pydantic. Behavior encapsulation. Add methods to encapsulate behavior related to the skill. Add or remove aliases. Yep. Check if a string matches the label or any alias. Yep. Okay, good. We already have the equality done. String representation, if we just want to print it out for debugging. Okay, so yeah, that's basically, we only need the methods for this. Add alias, remove alias, does it contain the alias, etc. Well, let's do that then. Add alias. We're going to have an alias which is of type string. And what we need to do first is make sure that we're not double adding that alias in there. So maybe we should like define the match first, right? And the match is going to go through the label and also the aliases, and then return true if it's found there, like if it's in there. Oh, what was that expression? That looked cool. if the keyword equals self.label or keyword in, hey, that's cool, actually. So I don't need like an if else, but I can say return. They're using keyword, not a query, but let's do that then. If the keyword equals self.label or the alias in self.aliases. Oh, see? It's not defined, of course. Yeah, that's how smart, I guess, this thing is. I'm just gonna return that alias. It has to return a string. If not, is it dot push? Self. I'm missing self dot aliases dot append alias. Okay, so I can basically do this. There we go. But in this case, alias is not defined because apparently we can do this. Or keyword equals alias in, well, yeah. Compare keyword with label and aliases individually. Let's see how Python can handle that. Oh, it's keyword in self.aliases. Oh, that's what it says. Did I miss? Yeah, keyword in self.aliases. Damn it. Okay, cool. The robot was right after all. Okay, so it's either the keyword equals to the label or either the keyword is in the aliases. Done. Done. Okay, so remove alias. I'm just gonna return it. We'll see, we'll see later. And we can see that, it's raising a bunch of value errors. Alias must be unique. Good thinking. Good thinking, robot. Yeah, appending it. So if it's not a string, it must be a non-empty string, right? If it already exists, which is basically the match, right? If it doesn't exist, oh, hold on a second. This is the other way. Must be unique and not match the label. This is if it doesn't match it. Well, okay then. If it matches it, we're going to raise another value. Must be unique and not match the label. There we go. So if these are, not, if these conditions are not being met, then we definitely want to append it and just return it. Cool. Removing is simple. If alias is inside of the array, then just remove it. Cool. Remove. I like that there's like a remove. I like that there's like a remove method. Pretty cool. Yeah. There we go. We also don't need to return. Add, remove, and match. We've done this, we don't need this. Or maybe we will, but we'll see. Alright, so far so good. Right? There's our methods, add alias, remove alias, and match. That's it. We already have the equality, so if we have two aliases and if we want to actually two skills and we want to compare them, it's gonna be pretty cool. It's already been done. Okay. Additional considerations. Persistent. Ensure that your entity is ready for persistence with an ORM or custom repository pattern. We'll do that. Consider making certain attributes immutable, like ID and label, unless the domain requires them to change. Label should be, of course, ID. ID is. You can change the ID, you can like create a new one, but label as well. Like we should like land on a skill and call it that and don't change it. It can have like aliases, but label should also be immutable. Aliases is the one thing that shouldn't change. Okay. All right, we got this. But I'm looking at the clock and we're already 3.5 hours in. So I'm thinking we continue on Friday. Let's see. Factor plus skill entity. Doesn't matter. These messages don't matter. I'm thinking we actually continue on Friday. Because I want something to... I want to get something to eat and some work. All right. Yeah, we'll continue. Let's actually put down some notes for the Friday stream. So for the Friday stream, actually we did this and we did this. So we're just going to continue with the domain modeling, right? Because right now we're actually moving everything into code. So yeah, we're just gonna continue doing this. Cool. And we should also look into, yeah, let me write that down. I want to look into having the user model, set up and extend the base user that comes from Django so that we can have users when working with the other models. Yeah, this is the end. But yeah, aside from that, first, I want to extend the Django base user, and that's going to be before we continue with the modeling, which is still the modeling, right? That's like the first aggregate that we saw. So yeah, setting the Django base user. And we should also see, these are not gonna be like, they're not value objects, right? Or they are value objects, but we don't need to create them. We don't need to create a label string or an aliases. The idea with the value objects is like, if, for example, we want to evolve this and change it later on, we're not gonna change the usage. We're just going to change the implementation inside. I think that was the case. Right now, we do have these defined as like value objects, right? But they're just primitives. They're just primitives. And value objects, I think, are not supposed to be primitives. They should be classes, just without IDs. And the value objects, they have their own equality logic and stuff like that. So I need to learn where is the, like, what can we set as a primitive like this, or what can we set as a value object. Yeah, we'll look into that in the next one as well. Figure out what's a primitive and what's a value and what's a value object. Nice. Okay, so yeah, good stream. We actually started to, you know, put some code in. We got the aggregates designed properly, at least, you know, it makes sense at this time. So yeah, let's continue on Friday. We're gonna figure out like the value object first, then we're going to continue with the domain modeling so we can finish the skill aggregate and everything, and then we're going to try to extend the Django based user. So instead of the first thing, we're actually gonna do that the last thing, and I'm going to update that with a big bold arrow. Okay, yeah, thank you all for watching. This has been fun. I'm gonna see you all on Friday at the same time. Okay, take care. See you in 2 days. Hold on, you can use value objects to mask the fact that you have a list, so you don't expose lists, which is a code smell. Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, and like these add alias and remove alias, they should be methods inside of the alias value objects, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we'll continue with that, and then we're gonna go and extend Django's base user. Very nice. All right, y'all. See you in 2 days. Bye bye.